You are Locked On Buffaloes POSTCAST, powered by Mile High Sports, part of Locked On Sports Denver on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Yes, of course, it is your Locked On Buffaloes POSTCAST. Good morning, everybody, as a late night turns into an early morning here, but thankfully, it is a victory show here on your Locked On Buffs POSTCAST as the Colorado Buffaloes get back to 500, I should say, with a 37-20 thumping of the Wyoming Cowboys. Colorado now at 2-2 on the season, and up comes conference play. So a good win for the Buffs, and away we go. We got some clarity about the quarterback position. You saw some explosiveness from the offense today. You saw some decent defense tonight as well. So I think this is the most complete game. And look, Delaware was Delaware, right? But, and I guess Wyoming's better than Delaware is what I'm trying to say. Like, let's see them do it against BYU next week. But point being, you like the way that the Buffs played this game. Really outside of the end, they're a little soft on defense, but at the end of the day, a win is a win. And folks, tonight's episode is brought to you by our friends over at Mazda. Like our players, we sweat every detail because when you make every move count, pulling off the unexpected is only the beginning. Stay tuned later for highlights in this week's Moving the Game Forward. Mazda, move and be moved. All right, so kind of coming into this game, you expected Colorado to win this one. I'm live from Folsom Field right now. I'm over, what am I on, the 30-yard line up here in the sky? In the aftermath, there's all the fans have cleared out. The player personnel is obviously cleared out as well. And, now kind of settling back and thinking about this game, this was a really important win and a really important game for the Colorado Buffaloes to get. I was chatting with some fellow media folk before the game, and I don't want to say that this was kind of categorized as a must-win type of game, but if Colorado wants to live up to the expectations that they've set for themselves, and obviously, look, it's easier said than done when you remove 2-12 from the equation, but, make a bowl game, a quality bowl game, compete in the Big 12. This was a game that CU had to have. And, it started out a little bit funky, right? 0-0 there at the end of the first quarter, but then Colorado manages to outscore Wyoming 21-3 in the second quarter, and they never looked back from that moment on. Wyoming put up 10 points there in the third, late touchdown there in the fourth. If Michael Welch doesn't fumble there, that might change the overall dynamic of this game, although Colorado did get the ball back and proceeded to score, I believe, a field goal on their next possession. So that was kind of null and void, or scored some points, rather. It's late, folks. So, at the end of the day, though, you've got to be satisfied with what you saw specifically from the offense tonight. And let's start there. Kaidon Salter, I think, is now, at least for next week, right? Things can change. But I do believe that Kaidon Salter solidified himself as the Colorado Buffaloes starting quarterback moving forward this season. Tonight for Salter, 18-28, 304 passing yards, an average of 10.9 yards per reception, 3 tutties, no interceptions, and a quarterback rating of 94.2. You also saw Kaidon Salter, that dual threat ability that we were sold about. And Coach Prime said as much after the game that, that's what we wanted. That's what we've been waiting for. That's what we wanted to see. And you saw Kaidon Salter go out there and use his legs tonight. He was actually the Buffs' leading rusher in this game. 11 carries for 86 yards and a touchdown on the ground for Kaidon Salter there at the end of the game. So congratulations to Kaidon Salter. It was a bit funky there with the quarterback room. And, there's been some details that we've picked up along the way in regards to maybe why they played Ryan Staub, why Kaidon Salter was showed the bench. We'll see if Coach Prime wants to come out and, comment on that dynamic overall. But point being, Kaidon Salter earned his keep. Great week of practice is what we heard this week coming into the game, and that translated to the game here tonight overall for the offense as they do what they needed to do. I mean, Colorado was a 13.5-point favorite tonight, folks, and they win 37-20. So they take care of business. They win the game. They cover. Good teams win. Great teams cover is an old thing. And the Colorado Buffaloes did both of those. So 2 check marks in the win column tonight for the Colorado Buffaloes, and you absolutely love to see that. And, just looking at it across the board, Michael Welch outside of the fumble, nice little game for him, 6 carries for 67 yards. The run game isn't necessarily the big story of the day today on offense. To me, it's the explosive plays that you saw. And Kaidon Salter, running for that touchdown there late in the fourth quarter was good, but the receiving game was on point today. I mean, Omarion Miller Like, welcome back, Omarion Miller. Like, I was pounding my head against the wall, earlier this season. Like, where is Omarion Miller? And it's not to his fault. That's on Pat Shurmur. That's on the play call. That's on the offense. Because I remember Omarion Miller, what was that, the USC game 2 years ago? He had a couple of touchdowns, I want to say, in that game. And you have Michael Irvin, the playmaker, putting his arm around him saying, this guy's a player, this guy's a dog, this guy's that. And it just seems like the passing attack across the board this season hasn't really been there, not just for Omarion Miller, but for the Buffs offense as a whole. That was not the case tonight. Omarion Miller, as I mentioned, 6 receptions for 88 yards and a touchdown, a long of 29. It was a laser. The touchdown reception that Omarion Miller caught, I believe it was the first touchdown of the game, was an absolute laser from Kaidon Salter. And what you saw tonight from Kaidon Salter, kind of bringing it back to the quarterback position, is he seemed to be dialed in mentally. I think we all know that Kaidon Salter, I know we haven't really seen it until tonight, at least with CU. We saw it with Liberty and whatnot. But you saw Kaidon Salter put it all together tonight. And I don't mean this in a bad way. I really don't. He's like a poor man's version of Shedeur Sanders with more mobility as a runner. And the reason I say that is the mishaps you saw from Kaidon Salter tonight, holding on to the ball too long, not running when he had an opportunity to, in air, a couple Olay overhead throws and whatnot. But he plays a little, like from what I saw tonight, it looked like Shedeur Sanders Jr. to a certain extent. Maybe that's just me. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section. But point being, he was able, what was Shedeur so great at? What was the trademark of this CU offense last year? They didn't, they were able to string together, long drives and score and whatnot. But Colorado last year, in the last 2 years, frankly, were at their best when they had the explosive plays working for them. And you saw that tonight for the Colorado Buffaloes. And I think Omarion Miller really set the tone there. So, it is what it is. And you like to see that as well. So we had a comment here from Fat Evan. Congratulations, Colorado Buffs. Beautiful win. Absolutely. So we got a comment here as well. Bro, they played in FBS school. It's over for the Buffs. They're going to get smoked in the Big 12. Let's pump the brakes. I'm not going to sit here and say after this game tonight, Big 12 championship. No. I'm not there. I think the goal, the realistic goal for this Colorado Buffaloes team is a quality bowl game. Can they get to 6 wins? Big 12, kind of an interesting schedule coming up. We'll get into that a little bit later on here. But at the end of the day, in a micro with tonight's game, yes, it's Wyoming. BYU, big test next week. We'll see how they fare in that one. But you've got to like the return in which you saw from the Colorado Buffaloes tonight. Sincere Brown, that guy's got some jets, man. Sincere Brown is whatever words you want to use to describe quick, fast, energetic, savvy, whatever it might be. I mean, this guy's got some wheels. He had only 1 reception for 68 yards, but it was for a touchdown tonight with Mr. Sincere Brown. So you like to see that. Joseph Williams getting involved as well. 1 reception for 47 yards and a touchdown. So all in all, some of the top line guys that you expect to see making plays for the Colorado Buffaloes on offense made plays tonight. Omarion Miller, Sincere Brown, Joseph Williams, Draylon Miller had 2 for 25, Hakeem Williams 3 for 26. So the sugar was spread around tonight with the offense for the Colorado Buffaloes. So absolutely love to see that. Love to see Kaidon Salter playing with confidence. And hopefully, this is a sign of things to come for the Colorado Buffaloes. Easier said than done. I'm not holding my breath. I got to see him do it against a Big 12 opponent. They hung in that game against Georgia Tech, took care of business against Delaware, laid an egg on the road against Houston. But what you saw tonight, if you're going to take the optimistic point of view, you hope that carries over to next week. And I think the big thing that's going to factor into this, can't get too high after this win. Can't be, you can't be too high, can't be too low. Got to stay in the middle, right? Job's done. This week's over. Check your box. On to the next. Get ready for BYU. All in all, a good win for CU. All right, let's hit a break. When we come back, we'll continue along with the conversation. Let's dive into the defense here tonight, as well as a couple of injuries that popped up, but hopefully will not be a major problem for CU moving forward. All that and more after the break. All right, you guys, let me tell you real quick about our friends over at Mazda. This episode is brought to you by Mazda's Moving the Game Forward. For those who believe it's not just about playing the game, it's about redefining it. There are moments that do more than put points on the board. They move crowds, move culture, and keep moving the game forward. This week's moment that moved the game forward doesn't even have to do with a player. It has to do with an animal. Shout out Ralphie7. The return of Ralphie. It was strange the first couple of home games not having Ralphie run. She did an incredible job tonight. And I'm not going to lie, I'm a guy that feeds into energy and mojo and all that kind of stuff. I was fired up watching Ralphie run across that football field. She did it twice at a halftime as well. She was bringing it. She set the tone tonight. Ralphie, my Mazda mover of the game. Absolutely, positively, no doubts about it. When you follow what moves you, the unexpected is only the beginning. And just like that, there's more to every highlight. There's more to every Mazda vehicle. Mazda, move and be moved. And let me also tell you about our friends over at DoorDash, because if you're watching live, you might want to order some DoorDash right now. It's almost the weekend. Well, it is the weekend. Time to look back and crown this week's MVP. Who delivered? Powered by DoorDash. Just like you can win every Saturday with DoorDash Streaks, saving more money every time you order. These players deliver when it matters most. Let's break it down. Kaidon Salter, Omarion Miller, a couple of guys as well. They delivered in a big way. And when the pressure was on, they came through, no hesitation, no delay. And if you've been waiting week after week, this performance wasn't a fluke. Hopefully it's a streak of good things to come for Kaidon Salter and company. And DoorDash delivers your Saturday, make sure to unlock your DoorDash Streaks. You save every Saturday you order, stack it up all season, and you can save up to $250, including $100 in DoorDash credits. Order this Saturday, keep the streak alive. Fuel your game day only with DoorDash. Terms they do apply. Promo period runs through 11/18. And let me tell you about 5-Hour Energy. I could use a 5-Hour Energy right now. Caffeine just got a flavor upgrade. 5-Hour Energy shots deliver tasty caffeine in 17 bold flavors. Each 2-ounce shot packs the caffeine of a premium 12-ounce cup of coffee, plus B vitamins and nutrients with zero sugar and zero crashes. What I love the most is about how portable they are. Big taste, tiny shot. You can take it anywhere and get that boost whenever you need it. Enough with the boring, flavorless caffeine. It's time to give your caffeine a flavor upgrade with 5-Hour Energy shots. Get the favorites you love, or be bold and try something new in store and online at www.5hourenergy.com or on Amazon today. Be sure to check out our friends over at 5-Hour Energy and let them know that Locked On Buffs sent you. All right, welcome on back into your Locked On Buffs postcast. Appreciate all of y'all. Hit that like button, smash that subscribe button as well. That way you guys never, ever miss an episode of your Locked On Buffs podcast, as well as your Locked On Buffs postcast. You can also follow me on social media, Instagram and Twitter, at Media by AP, if your heart desires. I see we got a comment here from Theo. He says, defense can't play too soft going forward. That's an excellent point, Theo. That's exactly where I was going to go, to kind of wrap up the show and put a bow on it tonight. Defense has got to be better. They got to be better. I mean, you like that they hold Wyoming to no points, but, Coach Prime's talked about how, they get a little complacent throughout the course of a game. And that cannot happen here tonight. I mean, Wyoming had 20 first downs compared to CU's 23, 347 total yards of offense. Thankfully, Kaidon Salter and company put up 497 of their own, and away we go. But, 165 yards on the ground compared to 193 for CU. In the time of possession, Wyoming actually won that tonight, 32-04 to 27-56. So, they just got to clamp down and stay focused. And, that's what you bring in Warren Sapp for. That's what you have this coaching staff for. And that's, I think, from a defensive perspective, it's not a matter of talent. It's a matter of will and desire and focus. And so I think that's the big thing moving forward for this CU Buffs defense, especially now that you're going into conference play. Every snap matters already, but now that's amplified times 10 when you go into conference play, especially after dropping a game already in the conference to Houston. So, you want to see the defense try to pick it up here a little bit, but, a win is a win. But hopefully there's some lessons to learn from this game because, again, it's not a question of talent. And finally, on the injury side tonight, a couple of different guys. Let me also talk about Arden Walker real quick, a positive on defense with the safety there for CU after Michael Welch ended up fumbling on the 1-yard line. What a play. Wyoming, literally had no mojo on that drive. I mean, it's hard when you take over at the 1-yard line of the opposition. But Arden Walker on that third down, coming around like a bat out of hell. Sacking the quarterback, safety, first one in a long time for the Colorado Buffaloes at home. Love to see that. So Arden Walker set the tone and came to play all 4 quarters tonight for the Colorado Buffaloes. So, a couple different injuries. To me, most notably, offensive lineman Jordan Seaton twisted his ankle, it appeared, was not available late in that game, dressed in street clothes. Hopefully he'll be good to go moving forward because I think he's the best player on this roster. It's either him or DJ McKinney, to be honest with you. I don't mean that in a bad way. It's just they're the 2 best players. And Jordan Seaton is going to be, in my opinion, I've said it on Twitter at Media by AP. I'll say it on this show. Jordan Seaton's a future first-round pick, folks. I mean, this guy's an absolute wall of an offensive lineman. So a couple other injuries that you want to see, but Coach Prime, didn't make it seem like he was overly concerned that anyone was going to miss a significant amount of time. So we'll see what happens moving forward there. But fingers crossed for Jordan Seaton and company. And away we go. But looking at the schedule, man, next week, 8:15, we'll do it again. We'll be live in the wee hours of the morning here at Folsom Field as well. BYU coming to town. This is a big, big game, especially because of how front-loaded Colorado's schedule is with home games. You know, they're home against BYU, they go at TCU, back home against Iowa State, then at Utah. So, you know, you want to win this game against BYU because TCU's looking pretty darn good. They had a nice game today as well. BYU 3-0. So this is going to be a real good gut check litmus test type of game for the Colorado Buffaloes. I'm excited to see how they come out. Again, I think Kaidon Salter tonight did a good job. I think he cemented himself as the starting quarterback for the Colorado Buffaloes moving forward. Can he build off of this? Can he get into the same rhythm and flow that you saw tonight with CU? If they do that, look, you don't have 2-12. We know that 2-12 aren't going to be able to just keep you in games like they were able to last year. But if Kaidon Salter and this offense are able to come out, establish a rhythm, put some points up, put some pressure on BYU on the road, and fall back on that defense, assuming they're ready, focused, and you know, wired, fired, and inspired for all 4 quarters of the game, who should say Colorado doesn't have a chance in this one? I bet you there's a line out for it. Let me see if I can find this real quick. I'm curious. I would think Colorado's going to be a dog. I wonder by how much. That maybe my initial gut tells me over a field goal. So why don't we say 3.5? Yeah, I'm not seeing a line right now. But point being, I'm assuming Colorado is going to be a home dog next week. So that's definitely going to be something to keep an eye on. But another 8:15 kickoff. But all in all, good win tonight for the Buffaloes. Good stuff from Kaidon Salter. Yeah, I'm looking here on ESPN. I don't have a line for you, but BYU, according to the matchup predictor, has a 75.4% chance to win the game compared to Colorado with just 24.6. So you do the math and see where we end up there. So Colorado is going to be an underdog in this game. And let's see if they can build some momentum, and let's see if they can make it 2 in a row. But all in all, man, you love the win tonight. Love what you saw across the board from the offense. Want to see the defense stay strong for 4 quarters, but it is a 37-20 victory for Coach Prime and the Colorado Buffaloes, who get back to 500 at 2-2 on the season. All right, folks, that is going to do it for me. Get some rest. We got a football Sunday tomorrow as well, and we'll do it again next week as the Colorado Buffaloes get ready to take on BYU. Good win. Talk to you guys next week. Get some rest. Have a good one, folks.